session. Our council has an announcement.
Yes, hi. I want to introduce you to two of our new staff. They, Sakpa and the city are parting ways amicably, of course, on June 30th. This is Nate Pan. He is a Plans Examiner 1.
Hello.
And Christian Tolmer. We will have 4 planners on board working with the boards and reviewing applications, but this is their second day.
Oh.
And I wanted you all to meet them because they will be appearing before you.
Do you know everything yet?
Right?
Good. Enjoy. Best of luck.
Nice to have planners again. There was a time when we had almost none.
Okay. I will proceed then.
Thank you.
The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the June 7th, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any modifications or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I see that we're unanimous, so the minutes are officially adopted. The board will now conduct the public hearings on today's agenda. The way we work it here is that first the applicant or the applicant's representative will state the reasons for the requested variance and present any material or documentation which is to be considered regarding the proposal. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the option to make any closing argument or comments to the board. Following the public hearings this afternoon, the board may make a decision on each application heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record except for information that the board may request. That information will be available for public review at the zoning office in City Hall Commons. Staff will now introduce the first application.
Okay, our first application is V-19-15M2, a use variance request to waive permitted uses at 127 and 117 East Glen Ave. The proposal is to expand a nonprofit community center. The owner applicant is Road to Emmaus. Emmaus, I knew that, I'm sorry. Emmaus Ministry of Syracuse, Inc. The zoning district is residential class A1.
Anybody who talks, please state your name and address first.
Sure.
Thank you.
Kurt Stroman, attorney for the applicant, address 605 West Genesee Street, Syracuse, 13204. Here representing Road to Emmaus Ministry of Syracuse Incorporated, a not-for-profit that's been operating on the south side of the city for since 2019 at this location. Prior to that, we were operating at a location adjacent to this on South Salina Street. Road to Emmaus Ministry is a not-for-profit. We do perform all types of community outreach in this area of the city, including meal preparation and distribution, school supply distribution, counseling. We've also expanded our services now into an adjacent facility where we also provide dental services as well as some basic medical screenings. Sheila Austin, the executive director of Emmaus, is here today. I'd like to have her possibly say a few things if I could in a moment. But we're here today because we are seeking an we're seeking an amendment to the existing variance that exists at this property. In 1974, this board voted to allow for a variance at this site for the International Union of Operating Engineers to construct a union hall in what was otherwise a residential community. East Glen Avenue connects to South Salina Street. This property is adjacent to several commercial structures at its north end, and we actually connect to several of them now because we've acquired a handful of them through donation or purchase over the years to expand our services. 127 East Glen Avenue is about a 2,400 square foot masonry building that was built at that time by the International Union of Operating Engineers. When we took it over in 2019, it was donated to us by the engineers who had abandoned that site, and the site sat vacant for approximately 10 years. They had heard about the work that we were doing in the neighborhood. We were at that point in time renting space and operating out of an adjacent facility, and they were very kind enough to donate the building to us. At that time, we obviously had to seek an expansion of the variance that was currently existing on the building that, again, had existed since 1974. And in 2019, we came in, we appeared before the board, and the board graciously granted us a variance to operate the nonprofit community outreach center that we currently operate at that location. Today, we're here, and we have applications also pending with the CPC related to a re-subdivision request. What we're proposing to do is add about a 2,300 square foot expansion to the existing 2,400 square foot building. And that expansion would take us onto the adjacent property at 117 East Glen Avenue, which we also acquired about a year ago. It allows us to expand, actually really what it does is it allows us to really more comfortably fit in the space that we're currently in. We all know that there's a dire need for services, including meal distribution and the needs of the residents in certain sections of the city. Emmaus has done an amazing job of filling that need on the south side over the last handful of years, and has expanded its mission and its outreach significantly during that time. The expansion allows us to have a little bit more community space, kind of free flow space, where we can set up additional tables for food distribution. It also allows us to expand our parking lot a little bit behind the building to provide for some additional parking, and then to provide a couple additional support offices, and then some support, and then additional storage space in the basement of the new structure. The services that we're going to provide there aren't being expanded in any significant way as a result of this. Again, it's just so that we can kind of more comfortably fit the building that we're in now and have more space to operate and do what we do. It might allow for a little bit more efficient distribution of meals, where right now sometimes we have to do that in stages. Now we can do that kind of all at once. And that's really the gist of why we are here today. So I would like to have Sheila possibly just speak, if she could, for a moment, just to the mission, if that's okay. Great.
Thank you very much for having me here. I am blessed to be,
State your name and address.
I'm sorry, yes, Sheila Austin. My home address, 5193 Boca Raton Way, Syracuse, New York. And I am the executive director at Road to Emmaus Ministry, 127 East Glen Ave. I have been in this capacity for about 13 years now. We have made a commitment on the south side of Syracuse some years ago, going back to 2009, as we started our overall ministry to the south side through St. James Church in the valley. Subsequently, we grew enough to where we felt we needed to incorporate as a nonprofit and function independently, and that took us into our original place of 4335 South Salina Street, all for the purpose of just being present to the community and to help fill the needs, which I think we all recognize are primarily food for that particular 13205 zip code area. It's a devastated area down there. Just for an example, we signed up 26 new individuals just today in an hour needing food because of the relocation of displaced people, the lack of funding and stuff. Our meals have grown from our original of 12,000 meals to last year 67,000 meals that are being served out of our center, in addition to providing free grocery bags and additional services that support and bring dignity to the residents that we're serving there. Haircuts, showers, we do laundry for them. We provide children's programming, and what's really has helped our ministry to evolve is the addition to our services as a caseworker. We have a licensed certified social worker here. So now we're addressing a lot of the social needs that our guests have. So yes, we need additional operational space. We are still working somewhat in a semi-hybrid operation of COVID. So we have most of the people coming in to pick up their meals, because now we are feeding households as opposed to feeding somebody who just comes in and sits down. That's why we have the additional numbers that we have. So now we are trying to reestablish some of that socialization that we've been able to provide for them in the past, and just a space to start being able to just more comfortably function as a family together.
Thank you. you can both stick around if you want to answer questions together. I guess I'm going to start. It's a curiosity because I saw, and I didn't know what it was, a letterhead from the Catholic Diocese. Are you affiliated with the Roman Catholic Diocese?
No, we are not. We separated from the St. James Church for strictly the purpose to become incorporated and to function more as a nonprofit. It is not that we are not rooted in our Catholic faith, and that's what drives us to be doing what we do.
I guess I was just curious.
Yeah, and the quote that you see as a part of the application was prepared by Ed King, who's the property and facilities manager for the Diocese of Syracuse. Ed graciously donates his time and does so with the permission of the diocese to help and assist with expansion, this expansion significantly, as also all of our construction and our build out at the additional facilities that we operate at currently. So we've been very fortunate to have the support of the diocese, to have Ed's, personal support, and to have him as with construction management experience to be able to provide his services to us has been invaluable. So the quote that you see was provided by him for that purpose.
So I'm going to open and then with a general statement and thought. You want to call it the elephant in the room or whatever. I don't think anybody here. I think everybody here appreciates what you're doing tremendously, but we're here to look, at the variance.
Sure.
And there are things, hopefully the other board members will ask the specific questions. But it seems like there are things that were done that physical things that were done that there weren't didn't get permission for, and there are things that you're being asked to correct. And I read your response. Well, every penny counts, and this is worth X meals or whatever. And we're going to have to figure out that how we feel about all that.
Understood.
So I'm opening there. I'll open up to questions.
First question to staff, is there an existing variance here, or are we starting from scratch essentially?
This is a new variance.
It's a completely new variance because the property had been vacant and any prior variance is gone? No?
Variances run with the land.
Yeah, the variance was modified in 2019 from the original in 1974. It was modified again at the end of 2019. We made a slight modification to the site plan at that time, and this would be a third modification of that use variance.
But it's not a modification variance, or is it?
They're amending the variance.
Correct.
Page 2, look at page 2.
Yeah, I asked because I wanted to know how much we need to go into the proofs that it should be used as a residential property because it's zoned residential.
Well, the proofs aren't actually whether it should be used as residential. In fact, I was just working with the new staff to teach them about that. I mean, your job here is to look at the amendment to this variance,
right.
Or it's technically, I guess, a new variance, but the criteria are the same. Whether we call it an amendment or a modification, the criteria are the same. They are listed on page 4. And the applicant has a letter. If you look at Owen Kearney's comments from zoning, they do comment on the criteria, but that's really your focus, is not all the stuff from DPW. That's not within your purview particularly.
The right-of-way, for instance.
The right-of-way, that's DPW.
That we know is not
their
our
permitting.
purview.
But it's the criteria, the variance test for what they're doing. Keeping in mind that, for example, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. It's been there for a while. This is a modification to an existing variance, so you certainly want to address it, but I mean, they're already there. So is it altering it right now? Will this slight change or the big change that someone's proposing cause a further alteration? That's what you really want to be looking at.
And we're here mainly because of the addition request.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, things have been done at the site
Well, you can
since the last variance was
Yeah.
granted.
And if we grant the variance as is, then all that, I'm asking a question here.
Yeah, of course.
All that goes away when whatever agency or department said their 50 some odd foot driveway has to become, 20 some odd
24.
foot driveway. That's something we would always look at when we're we're issuing a variance.
That's not really part of the variance criteria. I mean, they have to get a permit to do that site work. If they want to build an addition, they have to get a building permit. They have to get permits from DPW. They have to get clearances. So really,
So that would be dealt with
that's
in
dealt
other
with
cases.
by the other
Okay, fine.
external review agencies. And we'll be kind of revamping in the future how the comments are presented. But your job, really, your purview is the criteria you see on page 4.
Yes, I'm familiar with the criteria, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so questions? More questions?
What hours will you operate?
Our meal service is from 11 to 12 o'clock, Monday through Saturday. However, we have staff on, obviously, beginning at 7 o'clock in the morning. We usually finish up around 3 o'clock. Our case management person is there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8:30 to 2:30. That's where we have some additional people coming in that she's seeing throughout the day, requests, people asking for clothing or bus passes. We always answer the door, but our operation of meals is from 11 to 12.
Just 11 to 12. And when will the parking lot be empty usually?
Well, honestly, there's not many cars there after 12:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have volunteers that come in to help us prepare that meal, which is on an average about 6 to 7 volunteers for each day for us to be able to do what we do.
And when you add the addition, do you expect the volume of what you do to increase?
No, I see it just as giving us more space to expand and accommodate the things that we're doing. We're not adding any additional staff to that. We may have additional volunteers that come in maybe once or twice in addition during the week. But I expect it to look pretty much the way it is, just that we have more operational space that's segmented for various different things.
And what percentage of people come with a car and what percentage walk in?
Excuse me, I would say about a third of the people that come are in a car. We're talking about guests that come
Yeah.
for services, yeah. I would say about a third are in cars. Most everybody else is walking. They are pushing shopping carts. They're pulling strollers. They're pulling carts so that they have a means to carry things back with them, or they're just transitioning from one place to another. A lot are on bicycles. A lot are towing things from their bicycles, like ladders and things, because they're going to do a job somewhere else. It's very unconventional and very unpredictable, but it's very manageable, I feel. I mean, we haven't had any issues with traffic jams or any accidents. Nobody's gotten hit by a car. People are very aware of what's going on. We're very aware outside. We have cones up to segregate certain areas. We make sure that the people who are walking can get to that space, and that is that space right in front of that ramp, so that they can get into that space with their items safely, and the regular automobile traffic is separated from that.
And how many staff will be coming on a daily basis?
We have right now 8 part-time staff. They are not always there at the same time. We have 4 that are on site from 6 o'clock until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then depending on the days of the week, some of those rotate out. We have a cleaning person that comes in at 2 o'clock for 2 to 3 hours. And that's it. Otherwise, the rest of the staff is part-time, anywhere from 2 hours a day to 8 hours a day.
Asphalt at the front, is that something you can remove?
Obviously, yes, I would be capable of removing that. My concern, and I see where you're coming from exactly, what I feel we need to at least maintain is some asphalt there, so that the moms who are pushing the carriages have a place to put their things. If it was all just grass, Then in the rain, the snow and stuff, we've lost all that place for them to come, set their minimal belongings down, come in to either eat, leave quickly, or heaven forbid, they want to come in for a shower or some programming or socializing, sit down and have a cup of coffee. So that's my concern. I appreciate what the board is referring to, but that's my concern. I really desire to be able to make that building accessible to anybody, whoever they are, however limited. We have people in motorized wheelchairs, we have walkers. That's why we're there, is to serve that community however they are. I don't feel like I would want to put a restriction on that it's only people who can drive here that are going to be fortunate to get our services.
The property is now zoned residential 1, and it will be under rezone, assuming it's passed tomorrow. So our concern is making it fit into a residential neighborhood, and asphalt in the front yard really is not there. Is it possible to move the parking issues you're talking about to the side of the building? Can you use a door on the side so people have access, or back?
We don't have a door on the side. The guest entrance is that one front door that exists now. With the addition, it's going to have a second front door, which will help our internal flow of people coming in, moving through, and being able to exit through another door and down a second sidewalk. The side of the building it's a driveway for people to, staff and volunteers, to go to the back of the building and park there. So there is potentially a traffic there that's coming and going. So that's not a safe place in my mind to stage all these other people who are compromised safely.
If I may, just for one moment also, this was a comment that we received back from the city on the application, clearly related to the asphalt in the front of the building, both from the right of way to the street and then from the sidewalk out to the edge of travel in the road. Restoration of those areas, we have looked at that. We've identified areas that we believe are potentially areas that we can give back while still maintaining some portion of, again, non-traditional asphalt in front of the ramp. Because as you can imagine, to Sheila's point, it kind of has evolved to this use as of late, because most of these people, these are all of their worldly possessions, and they're coming in to just get a sandwich or a cup of coffee. Most of them are highly possessive of the minimal amount of, small number of possessions they have. They like to keep them in the front so that they can see through the window and see out and keep an eye on their things. And that is how the use has evolved. It is an evolved use. It is not something that was originally contemplated. I think it was something that had kind of come about with people just continually parking their possessions in the front, and we try to respond to that need over time. And we are working with our architect, Dan Fay, who obviously did a great job with the plans, has been responding to the city's concerns, and we're working on a little bit more thoughtful response to help to potentially maintain the residential feel, more of the residential feel of that, and to eliminate potentially some of that asphalt or restore some of the grass to the front of the building. And again, I think the CPC, pretty confident that was that portion of the review of the site plan will be something that will be high on their agenda when we meet with them next week.
So in a residential neighborhood, usually every property has one driveway and it's no more than 12 feet. You're much more than 24 feet. Can you bring the driveway down to 24 feet and the cut?
Yeah, yes, I believe we can bring the cut down to 24 feet, yes. I think that's a concern that we could address, very easily and immediately, to get the curb cut down to 24 feet. And we recognize the concern that everybody would have related to that. And it certainly helps protect our pedestrian flow in and out of the building as well by reducing the size of that right-of-way access.
Council, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. I think I misunderstood what you were getting at about the curb cuts. What I was trying to say was that anything that's within DPW's jurisdiction, you obviously wouldn't concern yourselves with, but What you're talking about is the impact on the neighborhood.
Right,
So I
yeah.
wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying you shouldn't talk about it at all, and you can always approve a variance with conditions. If there are
Right.
conditions that have occurred since they were here last time, then you may address those as well, like things that have happened with the site.
Right, which is,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, thank you.
No,
You got more, Mike?
well, I'm wondering if we give a variance, are we saying you're allowed to have so much asphalt in the front yard?
I
Or do
think
we
you can
leave that to
use-
the city to work out?
Zoning dictates how much coverage you can have, so that is within your purview. How much asphalt coverage, if it's in the code, you can address, if it's in the zoning code, you can address it. DPW is concerned with curb cuts and the width of the driveway, zoning's concerned with, permeable material and the, what's.
Well, the width of the driveway is,
What's the standard in the district.
is of interest to
Right,
us.
right.
If I could just have Dan Fay speak to this issue. Dan is our architect. He has prepared a revised drawing that shows restoration of a portion of the lawn area in the front, as well as a reduction in the drive lane access to 24 feet for the driveway itself, and restoration of the grass area between the sidewalk and the edge of travel for the road, for the curb. So
These plans in,
we literally have just completed them based on the city's last comments. Dan has a copy of one that we're proposing to submit to the city to address these very concerns, because we do recognize that this is not a traditional look or feel for a residential dwelling, for sure, so.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, if the board, we're getting a letter today that just came in, it didn't go into the packet, from Kathleen Stribley, I'm not sure who that is.
oh, we got that, we got that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have new plans coming in.
The plans, so it's the whole,
If you're not prepared to make a decision,
Right.
then you will hold this open
Right.
at your discretion to make a decision the way you need to make the decision.
And-
And hopefully that does, that helps. you.
That's fine.
We do not have a second, we do not have the July 13th meeting.
Oh, yeah.
The clerk didn't have a room, so that meeting's canceled, so you would not be coming on until August, just so you know, if you don't make a decision.
I'm inclined to hold it over to the next
Can I ask
meeting.
just to the asphalt question, is that gonna change the area requirement variances if it's a surface area coverage variance as well at this point?
Yeah, that's a good point. What is the
So there's area requirements for residential uses,
30%, right?
right, but this isn't a residential use, so I guess that's that would be my question. I mean, normally a use variance encompasses any area requirements, but how you apply residential area
The
this
variance,
use in a variance situation.
a variance granted is granted to the smallest extent possible for the request. So if you allowed a small neighborhood supermarket here, they don't get to go apply the commercial supermarket development standards to that development. So the way you can address these issues are through the conditions of your approval. The comments state clearly that they want the driveway down to 24 feet, and there's an expression about landscaping, and those are things that are within your purview, whatever's in the code that you're allowed to impose as conditions. It may be worth spending some time talking to the applicant instead of in a public forum, trying to hash it all out with new plans coming in. It might be worth having staff, which after next week will be the new staff, working with them and trying to understand, if you can give them direction today more fully what you're interested in, if there were changes on the site since they last came in that weren't authorized, maybe done without a permit, it happens, and you don't like those changes, you want that to get back to where it was, then we need to work with the customer to help.
Customer?
Well, where I used to work, we
Sure.
called them customers.
Okay.
Sure.
Citizens. I
The
mean,
applicant.
They're not constituents, you're not elected, this is an applicant, or when they come to the counter for these guys, they're customers, okay, or applicants, so you can,
so what I'm hearing is, it would be good to hear to get an overview of your new plan, and then it should go to the city, we should comment, and then reconvene when we, hear their ideas as
August.
well. Well, whenever it is. You're not having a meeting, this is not a good time to talk about this, but we're not having a meeting because we can't find a room? Anywhere? We've had hearings everywhere.
I know, I understand that there appeared to have been some miscommunication, but the transition is not an easy one, not because of people, but because this is a new department starting and everybody's learning things. So we can talk about it at the end of the hearing.
Yeah, okay,
But
that's fine.
suffice to say, you should vet everything now at the public
Yeah.
hearing. You've opened the public hearing. Give them instruction about what you're looking for.
Right.
And then let them come back and work with staff to try to meet your concerns before you make a vote, if that's the will of the board.
Understood.
If I may, just one additional comment. I know that the way we've modified the site plan was in accordance with and specifically addressed the comments that were related to the asphalt. And we were able to address each one of the issues. The reduction of the drive lane to 24 feet, the restoration of the grass area between the sidewalk and the edge of travel, and the restoration of the grass area within the right-of-way, which was specifically what was addressed in the comments. We have addressed each one of those to a T with the revised drawing. I just want to state on behalf of the applicant, obviously, our hope and our goal was to be able to potentially get involved in construction at some point, late summer, early fall. Obviously, a delay in this hearing will lead to a potential delay at the next one, which obviously could throw our construction schedule off. I just want to be honest about that and tell you that obviously it presents a hardship to us, but that is what it is. I think that if it's, again, if it's within your discretion or within your purview to potentially approve something conditioned upon satisfaction of the conditions that were set forth by the city review and the staff when they reviewed it, that obviously would allow us potentially to proceed and would still require compliance with those standards that the city, the city zoning staff had put onto the application and submitted to us. And that's exactly what we're replying to now. So that's our thought. And we totally respect the board and your own, you make that decision however you want, but I do want to just convey to you the applicant's concerns about the timeline.
So, again, you're welcome to introduce yourself and give us.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dan Fay. I'm at I live at 109 Allenson Road, Syracuse 13207, and or Alanson, depending on how people say it. And I did want to just clarify for everybody. I do have a revision that shows the driveway revision. We did submit a revision to the city previously, about a week and a half ago, to Lisa, and I think that was received and shows the changes that they asked for additional buffering between the property they want to expand on and the residential structure that's there now, as well as some changes with additional trees in front of. So this change is purely in response to the comment about the pavement, which we received later, so that's why it wasn't incorporated in the earlier one. I want to make sure you're all looking at the right plan, that's all.
Same.
So if I may, this is the revision that I sent a week or so ago was to put the new sidewalk in, was to put the buffer as requested between the residential property and where they want to expand, and was to add the planting area. So that was all submitted previously. The only change in this drawing was to restore this area and to restore back to the setback line, as was requested in the latest set of comments that we got, giving the 24-foot curb cut.
Can you just, sorry, no, it's okay. Can you just point out where the asphalt will, like, what's gonna be covered in asphalt with this plan?
Currently, the asphalt is this whole rectangle here.
Okay.
And what we're saying is we would remove, except for the 24-foot driveway here, we'd remove the front yard back to the setback line.
Okay.
Can you bring it down here so all of our board members can see? It's okay.
I should have brought several of them, I
It's in
apologize.
the corner.
The other comment that was made by
Explain
this.
to everybody at this end too, please.
So this is currently asphalt and would be restored to grass, the area with the dots in it, and so would the space between the sidewalk and Glen Avenue.
Would this also be a parking area?
Well, what they requested in the last time was that some fixed vertical objects, bollards, if you will, be installed here so that cars can't get in there, but the strollers, the
Shopping
other things
carts.
that Sheila was talking about could be located in here. We also have the bicycle racks that were relocated because they were against the ramp. They asked for them to be at least 5 feet away from the ramp and at an angle. I guess my only question for staff would be, could we use those instead of the bollards? But that's a side issue. The intention of this drawing is to take what is currently asphalt and make it grass in this area and in this area.
Trees?
We had added some planting areas here and here at the request of the earlier comments, and then the landscaping along here to buffer between the residential structure next door.
And you wouldn't want any in the front of the building?
It wasn't in the comments, so I didn't include it.
Okay.
This has been extremely helpful. I would feel okay going forward if we wanted to move.
Other questions?
I have a couple of quick questions for you. How long has this property been under your possession?
Since we moved in December of 2019.
18. Correct. Okay. And my next question for you would be, you've met all of the requirements and all of the questions that the city had for you, correct?
Correct.
Had they given you feedback on all of those questions that they had?
Yes, I believe the only items that were not addressed are the ones that we just discussed, related to the plan that Dan had just revised in advance of, because those comments we received late. But every other comment that we had received back from the city had been addressed, and I think resubmitted to the city, I believe, to their satisfaction at this point. That's our
Okay.
understanding.
All right. Very good.
What are they doing with the asphalt?
Very good.
Is there a reason you couldn't put trees in the front of the building?
There is not, it's just it wasn't requested.
Okay.
We were trying to respond to the comments as received.
I think particularly because of all the traffic here, it'd be useful to have trees there and even shade for the people who are coming and going. Yeah?
I would just add that the zoning does require screening along the back parking area.
Ah,
And there was a comment from someone in the neighborhood about that. So you may want to,
that's
And my last question would be, have you received any negative comments from anyone in the neighborhood, or have they been extremely supportive of what you're doing?
Now you're going to make me cry.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
it's all good.
that's good. That's good.
The impact that we have made in the community has turned back to us in such a positive way. They are so thankful that we're there, that we're providing the things that they need. Not that we were just there, but we're providing that food and the community and just somebody who is consistently there day in and day out. It doesn't matter what the weather is. And by the way, we never closed one day during COVID. Never once. So they're grateful to us. We are blessed by this. And just to speak to how they view us, they call us church.
There you go.
They call us that they're going to church. We don't provide services there, church services, but it's because of our commitment and rooted in our faith that we are doing this because this is what Christ calls on all of us to do, is to love and take care of each other in their basic needs, not creating something because we think it's something that we should be doing. Our ministry grows because of the questions that they present to us of their needs, and that's how we continue to serve them.
So I think you answered my question. They are very supportive of what you do. And I would think that 2/3 or 70% of the people that use your services live in walking distance from your service. So people are not necessarily complaining or have any complaint about the facility or about asphalt or anything else of that nature.
No, you're right, and to your point, we have never had a resident who is not taking advantage of our services come to us with any complaints whatsoever. We've never had a complaint about the number of cars or the traffic. They see that we're there, and I think the community is fine with us. I think they recognize how we have brought elevated that area, frankly, because of how nicely we take care of everything. It's a beautiful facility, and I would invite any of you to come down and look at it, because I think you'd be very, very impressed with our mission and how we go about doing it, and the fact that we've been able to extend that into other needs of their lives.
And I'll just say this, having worked in constituency services here for many years in different departments here, one of the pet peeves I have is we have to be supportive of individuals once they get a go-ahead from the city, not to be a hindrance, but to help you reach those goals to maintain what you're trying to do for the city as a whole.
I frankly worry about our guests if our work were to be restricted at all. There's going to be a lot of hardship as a result of that.
Okay.
Are there other questions from the board?
Screening at the back, is that an issue?
The screening at the back did come up as part of the discussion, and when I spoke with the representatives from the city, as they said, this property backs up directly to the church parking lot that's behind it, so it is literally asphalt to asphalt. And along the north side, I should say, along the north side. So the idea of being able to do much there, it's not particularly practical in that sense, and I would be uncomfortable putting up too many barriers that may or may not be helpful to everyone in the neighborhood. The visibility through that area is very helpful to be able to see going back and forth.
So you can drive from one parking lot to the other
You
now?
can't, there's a fence separating the Emmaus parking lot from the church as well, with openings in it, so pedestrians can come through.
Yeah.
But the idea of, normally we would look at a vegetative buffer of some sort. That's not really practical.
It's not somebody's backyard right now.
It certainly is, and it backs up directly to the church's parking lot.
Thank you.
Oh,
Can I
excuse me.
just add something to that, too? It's a rough area down there. There's a lot of crime, as you're well aware. So for us to assure the safety not only of our staff and our volunteers who are coming from all different areas, but of our guests, we need to have visibility around us. We're not looking to close ourselves in so that we can respond to any sort of situations that can occur and frankly have occurred.
Okay. I'm going to say we're going to close the hearing now, and then we're going to talk about whether we hold it or not on the other end. Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody here who wishes to speak against the application? So hearing none, I'm going to close the case and we'll go on to our...
Mr. Chairman, before you do, I just want to get a clarification for the board on this drawing. You said this is a new drawing in response to comments.
I did. Unfortunately, my draftsman didn't put a new date on it.
Okay.
I would be happy to do that manually if you want me to.
Yeah, because if they move to vote on it today, I'd like them to incorporate the new drawing by reference.
Let me
so
get
that-
something and I'll manually
That'd be
change
great.
it.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next case.
He's just going to modify that.
Oh. Bring a different pen for every letter. Okay?
Move on.
Our next case is V-23-08. It's an area variance request to waive required rear yard and structural coverage for a property at 523 Roberts Avenue rear. The proposal is to construct a bathroom addition. The owner applicant is Paul Root, and the zoning is residential class A1.
Yeah.
I'm Brian Manthe, architect. Address is 1919 Patterson Road in Marietta, 13110. This application is for a small bathroom addition at the rear of the property of an existing house, 523 Roberts. And the addition takes place underneath an existing sleeping porch. The overall net effect on the footprint increase is 22 square feet. Because it's occupying the space underneath that sleeping porch. And the overall addition is just about 87 square feet. And it will provide a first floor bathroom so that the owner, Paul Root, who's here with me today, can have his 87-year-old mother live in the house and age in the house without having to go upstairs to the only bathroom that's in the facility.
Is that a full bathroom or a half bath?
Be a full bathroom addition.
Was there something previous that was dropped along the way?
No, the sleeping porch that's above is represented in, I think, a photo on some of the drawings. If not, I can share that with you. But the sleeping porch was hung out over the space below and only existed at the second floor.
Yeah. Because 2008, you said 1978.
No, I said on page 78.
Oh, page 78, okay. Questions?
There was a variance given for this work before, but it didn't get done, and that's why we're back here again. Is that correct?
No. Well, that was before my time, so if it's...
Come on up and introduce yourself, please.
Paul Root, 523 Roberts Ave. Yes, there was a variance granted, and I just never pursued it at the time.
And was that for what? What was that for?
A bathroom.
So we've already approved this,
Yep,
and it just went away.
right.
Because they didn't act on it, so they
And that was in
back.
2008?
I believe so.
Okay.
Sorry.
I would be there. Maybe.
I think you were here.
Yeah.
Mike, you were here.
So, yeah.
The porch, was that a partial building of what you'd asked for?
So the porch is existing. It's been there since, it's original.
I see, okay.
Here's some maybe clearer photos, larger photos about what exists there today that's the view from the street behind. So this is the sleeping porch here. This is the sleeping porch showing it overhanging the area that we're going to occupy with our addition. Here's the sleeping porch above,
Mosquitoes and
bathrooms, what will be the bathroom space below, two views in the front of the house.
And when they're done, can you bring it down here so all the board members can take a peek?
Yep, this is information that was submitted along with our application, so you
Just
should
bigger
have
pictures.
these are released.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, can you see over the garage from the porch up there? Your neighbor's garage? So you do have, it's not blocked by the, yeah. I can see why you wouldn't put a window facing that garage on the first floor.
Yes.
That they're both on either side.
Other questions? Thank you. Anybody here wish to speak in favor of the application? Anybody wish to speak against the application? Hearing none, we'll close the case and we'll go back to the first case. Is that right? Just two cases. And no new business. And nothing else. So, okay, on B23, oh, sorry.
B19.
Yeah, V19, oh, so there's the M I was looking for, I didn't see that before. Okay. But, wait a minute. How come it says V1915M2 here, and then it says V23-04 here?
Typo, sorry.
See, that's what I was looking for.
Which one's the real one?
B19 15 and 2.
Okay, so that kind of answers my confusion before. Use variance, 127, 117 East Glen Avenue. Is there a motion?
Go ahead.
I would make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so you want to vote through the...
Motion to approve the, motion to approve the variance, as noted in the revised plans dated 6/22/23, and in accordance with all the city staff's comments. The applicant cannot realize a reasonable rate of return. As a nonprofit, as noted in their application, the cost to move the operation would be prohibitive. The alleged hardship is unique because this is the only use in the neighborhood where this is happening and is not a substantial portion of the residential district, and further it abuts South Salina Street, so it is near a commercial use corridor. It will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. This use has been going on for about 4 years, and previous non-residential uses for several decades. And the hardship has not been self-created. This is a modification of an existing permit, existing variance. Do we need to do a seeker?
I think it tells us already.
In there?
Does not exceed the threshold.
And this would be a type,
Just look at seeker on the first page here.
oh yeah.
It's an unlisted action.
So it's a neg deck. With a negative safety declaration.
Okay. Discussion, what?
So you have to do your seeker separately.
Excuse me?
You have to do your seeker separately. You can't add it as a neg deck into your main
Take
motion.
that off and I go with just what I said.
Go with your main motion, and in this instance, we'll do the seeker after.
Things are changing here, so I'm not aware of that. We've never done that. I've only been here 30 years, so,
Always evolving.
yes. Okay,
Otis seconded.
wait a second, discussion. I'm just gonna ask, do we have to name any of the changes we're requesting, or are we satisfied?
Well, there are no conditions yet in the motion.
That's what I'm asking.
I would
I
suggest,
said I'm incorporating the plans.
Did,
that
yes, in a
do
general way, so I'm
encompass.
asking, does it have to be more
well,
specific?
I'd suggest trees in the front yard.
You can, so he can move to amend your motion, a friendly amendment to add a condition, if you wish.
So I so move to have,
And who approves that? Us or, okay.
well,
has
she
to
made the motion,
approve-
so she would have.
She has to approve the amendment, then the board will vote on.
You put a tree in the front.
Where do you want the trees, Mike?
Let's,
But please specify what you want.
Do you have a problem with the trees, guys?
No, they said,
All right, I'm fine with the trees.
so you have to listen. Here.
Yes, okay.
Okay, and that's the only condition?
Now, wait,
With trees.
now, does the architect
Okay,
have
can
to see where you want the trees?
No, they know.
Okay.
You need to be more specific. If you want 1 tree or 6 trees, trees is a forest. I mean, do you
I want-
care? You want several trees, a tree, just a shade tree? Please specify so that, and that's for their benefit as much as the public record. I mean, you can't say trees and then later on, there's not enough
Would we
trees.
say it's recommended by the city arborist?
He's amending the motion.
I would,
Add a tree or some trees.
I would add trees in the front yard as recommended by the city arborist.
Okay,
Okay.
He's a
additional,
genius.
Okay.
additional trees.
No other conditions?
We never talked about the vinyl over the brick.
You mean the
It's
different?
not,
That's not part of the variance.
it's not part of the variance, right?
Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna, all in favor of the variance and the condition of approving it, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, we're set.
We'll do
Good
this,
luck.
we'll do the seeker now.
One more thing on the seeker.
So normally we would, so we're changing our procedures with all of the boards so that we do things in accordance with the way the law requires. So this is how we'll do this in the future. Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 that's in your packet? Okay, and generally speaking, you've done this 1,000 times, so are you familiar with the 11 questions of the short EAF Part 2? Which normally they'll be in your packet, but they are not today. But generally speaking, for this application, are you generally familiar with those questions?
I couldn't recite them, but yes, I'm familiar.
Do you believe that this project will have any moderate to large impacts, environmental impacts?
No.
No.
Okay. So because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend that you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly. So someone needs to make a motion for a negative declaration under seeker.
I would suggest you.
I would make a, oh, God.
She moves.
I don't know. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, very interesting, new procedure. We need to
I'm sorry.
get accustomed to.
I thought we'd done it before.
Not quite like this. We'll get better as time goes.
Yes, we'll get
So will
better. Okay, B 23-08, area variance to add the bathroom, 523 Roberts Avenue rear. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have to find the standards.
On then 2 pages later, 1 page later.
Oh, here it is, 53. Will there be a change to the neighborhood character? Actually, I think it'll be an improvement. The porch hanging there off the house now is not as attractive as what we'll have once the bathroom is built below it. Are there alternate solutions available so that a variance is not needed? It's a tight lot. It's a house in sort of an awkward location. And I think this is, I don't see an alternate solution if the goal is to add a bathroom. What's the magnitude of the variance being requested? It is not great in terms of the coverage. It is somewhat large in regard to the setback, and I noticed that the setback requirements are not going to be different for a house like this under rezone, so that is the same. But in the larger scheme of things, it won't be seen from the street. I don't think it's a large magnitude of request. Will there be an adverse effect on the surrounding neighborhood? The surrounding neighborhood won't be able to see it for the most part, and those who can see it, it will be an improvement. And is there a self-created difficulty? I do not think it is.
Anything else? All those in favor of approving the variance say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Do we have to do seeker on this? too?
Right, and normally we would do the seeker first, but. It's a type 2? Oh, it's a type 2, so no seeker. Sorry.
Okay, fine. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Before we do that, our next meeting will be what, August 3rd?
We can talk about that after we
Yeah,
adjourn.
go after the record and then
Yeah.
we'll.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from someone.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.